Israeli army, Israel Air Force has caused such a pollution in Gaza that it is equivalent to the carbon footprint of the 20 most vulnerable climate change countries. That is the just tip of the iceberg. Now, this is the figure that I'm giving you of the first 2 to 3 months. Now the situation has gone from bad to the worst. But again, this was not something which was discussed in this conference in a manner that it really deserved. The focus has been what will happen between Ukraine and Russia. Unfortunately, ironically, the conflict which should have been the main focus, that is a war between Palestinian, and it's not a war, it's a genocidal war imposed by Israel. That should have been the focus. Unfortunately, that is not there. G20 countries are responsible for the 83% pollution in the world. That speaks volume about their role. Now, when it comes to financing, that is where the real problem lies. Outgoing President Joe Biden has announced that his government is going to invest $4 billion in the clean energy projects. But the bigger question is, the President-elect Donald Trump has already said time and again that the climate change is a simply hoax, it is not there, and he's going to withdraw all those funding. So I think it really, with the return of Donald Trump, so far as the climate change projects are concerned, I think this does not bode well. Now the major burden would be onto the Europe. But again, Europe has its own problem. It is not as rich as is the USA. So in days and weeks and years to come, I think all these commitments that are being made to finance climate change projects in the third world countries, I think those commitments, going by the track record, are not going to be met. There have been repeated commitment by the G20s. There have been repeated commitments by many developed countries that they are going to finance climate change projects in the most vulnerable countries in the past. But again, at the end of the day, these commitments are not fulfilled. In case of Pakistan, in 22, Pakistan was under flood water, up to maybe 1/3, or maybe in some say up to half of Pakistan was underwater. And there was $30 billion losses. All these countries made a commitment that they are going to finance climate change projects, but they have not financed them. They came up with a proposal to provide loans. But again, in a broader picture, G20 countries, they are the biggest polluters in the world. With USA, with China, they are the biggest carbon emitters in the world. And this is essentially their responsibility to finance these climate projects. But again, there's also problem in the third world countries like Pakistan, that they have not make their feasibility plans whereby they could have attract these finances to project climate change. The growing tide of anti-Israel sentiments. What you see behind me is just tip of the iceberg of what is happening in the country. More than half of $52 billion black CIA budget is spent on espionage network in Pakistan. How would you handle it?
The US has looked upon Pakistan as an ally at one point, and then as an enemy at the same time.
That is going to be the first legal reason on the basis of which he is going to be instantly ousted by the Supreme Court of Pakistan.
Joining us live, Javed Rana, who's an expert on politics and geostrategic issues.
In the world politics, which is not being driven by any moral principle, it is being driven by the hard geostrategic realities. In a broader picture, more countries would aspire to have nuclear weapons.